Hello everybody, Prow here, and we are going to go over farming today. I have spent a lot of time getting to know almost everything that there is to know about farming. There's some little details that I don't know, and maybe there's some secrets out there that you guys can tell me that I don't know, but I've spent a lot of time sciencing things and looking at things and figuring things out, and I figured out quite a lot. This is my survival world. I'm gonna go into free cam really quick just to show you guys what an optimal layout for a farm looks like. And I'm gonna get to why this is the optimal layout and how I do things and why I do things here in a little bit, but I wanna start at the beginning. So we're gonna go over some of the basic parts of farming. I'm not gonna like inundate you with minor details, but I at least wanna make sure we have a foundation for you guys understanding how farming works. And then we're gonna hop into the more optimize stuff, the important information you need to know. I actually even need to squash some misconceptions about how a lot of you think farming works. Those of you that are putting water in channels to hydrate your crops, you're going to want to stop that. I'll explain why in a little bit, because that doesn't work. Okay, but I figured out everything that does work. I'm going to give you all the information. So in doing that, let's start out with the farming bench. Now, your farming bench starts out at level 1, and you can get it all the way up to level 10, and it is a heck of a grind. It's actually quite a grind. So I'm not going to go over all the steps to do with that, but it's worth doing because you get more and more really important things as you progress your farming bench. Now, there are a number of different crops available to you that you can buy the seeds for here. I want to say there are a total of 14 different 14 different seeds you can buy, starting with wheat and ending with these guys, the potato sprout. There's even some special recipes you can find. We're not going to go over those today, but you can find some special recipes for these different flowers. Now, on top of the regular seeds, you also have eternal seeds. And there's a couple differences between regular seeds and eternal seeds. First of all, an eternal seed, what it means is when you run up and you pick that crop, it stays planted. You don't have to replant. So because of that, you get less essence of life from picking the crop, but you also don't have to then come back over here and buy, in this case, a brand new onion bulb, because I don't have to get a new onion bulb. It replanted itself automatically. This will save you time, especially, but it is quite the grind, because as you can see, this is the most expensive one, the onion bulb and the potato sprout. Which, by the way, I don't have the eternal recipes for. I don't know if they're the last two that I unlock here at 200 memories, or if there's no real way to get them. I'll go over this part in a little bit, but I do know of a way to get the onion bulb one. But let's look at the rice seed, for example. For every eternal rice seed that I get, it costs me 80 essence of life, it costs me 40 rice, and it costs me 1 rice seed bag. It's pretty expensive. Like I said earlier, it is a grind to get eternal seeds. You'll see here all the crops that I have planted here. These are all eternal seeds. I've done a decent amount of farming. I don't like sit here and do it all the time, but I do it pretty regularly, probably more regularly than most. And these are all the eternal seeds that I have so far. And you could probably tell what my plan is. My plan is to fill every single one of these up with the eternal seeds. That's the plan. And it's going to be a grind to do it, but I'm going to do it. Now, I did mention there is another way to get eternal seeds other than buying them there. There is a rare chance when you pick a crop for that crop to drop an eternal seed. It's pretty rare. I don't know the rates. If I had to guess, maybe somewhere around like 1 or 2% would be my guess, drop rate. Now, maybe it's different per different ones, but I've been farming a ton of these onions, and that's about what I've noticed. Honestly, thinking about it, it may even be 0.5%, maybe 1% to 0.5% is your rough drop rate of it. And that's how I've gotten all of those onion eternal seeds, the onion bulbs, because I don't have the ability to buy it. Again, maybe it's one of these. I don't really know. I'll find out eventually. I have 4 more memories to get to know for sure. So that's how crop planting works. That's how buying your crops works. And by the way, if you didn't know, the higher tier seed or eternal seed that you pick, crop that you pick, the more essence of life you get. So if you're just farming up essence of life, you want to do the highest available seed to get that. That's going to be the best way to get a lot of essence of life. As you can see, I have a decent amount here, but not a lot. I only have 28 greater essence of life right now. I've had way more than that in the past, but I spent a lot as I was going through and filling in my farm. Anyways, enough blabbing. Let's get to some more information. So crops have a standard growth rate, and there are 3 things that affect the growth rate: light level, if the crop has been watered, and if the crop has been fertilized. Those are the 3 things you can do to make your crops grow faster. At least those are the only 3 things that I've ever heard of. I don't think there's any other ones. If you know of something else definitively, or you want me to check into something else, let me know. Now, light level does not matter during the daytime, but at nighttime it does. And if you think, okay, well, I mean, I always just sleep at night anyways, so I don't think the light level at night matters. Ho, 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 do I have something important to tell you. Whenever you go hop in your bed and go to sleep, the time that passes during the night, the crops actually continue to grow during that time. If you've paid attention, you may have noticed that when you've gone to sleep and come back, your ungrown crops have already grown. Or you might notice that they haven't grown because it was dark outside and they didn't grow because there wasn't enough light. Or even more so, you may have noticed that you had some torches close by and some crops grew really fast and others didn't. And maybe you couldn't figure out why. That's why. Because the crops will continue to grow in a lower light level, but they are way slower. I don't have a percentage for you, but they are way slower to grow when it's dark versus when it's light. And again, when you sleep, those like 10, 12 hours or whatever of game time that passes while you sleep, the crops continue to grow. Therefore, if you are normally sleeping close to where your crops are, you want to have the area lit up so your crops can continue to grow. Now, the other 2 ways that your crops can grow faster. Method number 1 is watering your crops. You take a water can and you use it on, I think this watering can's out of water right now. I will just click the water with it. It does not take away from the water, but it did fill up. Every time you do this number right here, you have watered or hydrated that land. I'm not quite sure how long the land stays hydrated. Maybe it's like 10 minutes or something. I'm not really sure. If you know an exact time, let me know. But the farmland will only stay hydrated for a certain amount of time. Also, you can fertilize the land. This one's a lot harder to do. Fertilizing the land requires poop. Yes, that's right. It requires poop. Fertilizer bags will take 10 poop, essence of life, and any type of vegetable to make fertilizer. You can only use this fertilizer on 5 spots. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's it. And right now, getting animal poop, it's not super easy. I do assume, though, that as the game progresses and they add more stuff to it, doing stuff with animals will get easier, including harvesting the nasty stuff to make the fertilizer. So just keep an eye out for that. That will likely be coming in the future. Also, I want to plant something in that spot because we are doing an experiment live during this video. And that experiment is, I don't think that these spots right here will stay fertilized forever. But honestly, I don't really know that. I watered these spots and fertilized these spots at the same time. So my guess is they will both change back to normal farmland like this after some period of time, but we'll see. Now, what does watering your crops and fertilizing your crops get you? Well, it actually tells you in the farm bench. So I will show you right here. Oh, if you hover over the watering can, it says will fill with water to use on crops. Watered crops grow 2.5 times faster. So they grow 2.5 times faster. What does fertilizer get you? Used to fertilize tilled soil. Fertilized crops grow 2 times faster. So you may think, okay, well, between the two, watering's probably better than fertilizing because A, the fertilizers are hard to get, and B, watering does more. That is where you would be incorrect. It does stack. So a farmland that is both fertilized and is watered, that 2.5 and 2 combined together. These crops right here will grow 4.5 times faster than the base crop. So the watered crops alone will grow 2.5 times faster. Fertilized crops alone will grow 2 times faster. But if you fertilize and water the crops, they will grow 4.5 times faster. Now, I'm going to share with you what I normally do. I don't do any of that because honestly, this is just me. If you spend a lot of time picking crops, this may be different for you. But for me, the crops grow kind of quick anyways. And I feel like if I went through and watered every crop and fertilized every crop, especially, that alls I would do is pick, water, and fertilize crops nonstop. That would be the whole game. So since they go kind of fast anyways, I just let the eternal crops grow. I don't water them. I don't fertilize them. I don't do anything to them. Although if the fertilizer stays, I might fertilize them. That'll be a fun thing to try to do. But like I go over and I build some of my buildings and I do some decorating and I put inventory away and like I do things around here. And I feel like every time I look over here, the crops are growing again and I can just pick them again. So that's me, but you guys take that information for what you will. Now, look, there it goes. See how much quicker it is? Now, the last bit here, I think that I have to tell you guys about. That's lighting. Prowl, why or how did you figure out to set up lighting in this way? What exactly is going on here? So let me hop into a creative test world to show you how lighting works. I tested this and I have figured it out for you so you don't have to figure it out. Now, there are what I have tested to be 3 different categories in terms of light distance. Now, I'm sure there's categories below the torch here, a candle or whatever, but they don't really matter. So I have 3 here that I've tested, and I believe the highest one that I have over there is the furthest out that light levels will reach. So you have the torch here, which will illuminate out 4 blocks out in each direction in this diamond-like format. So the 4th crop out will grow faster due to the light level. The 5th block out, the 5th crop out would not. When you go up to the lantern, you go out 5 blocks in each direction. The 5th crop out will still speed up. The 6th will not. And then lastly, you have, I believe this is called the Light Temple Brazier. And I think this is the highest light level. And there may be some other light levels that come like in this same like brightness. I'm not 100% sure of. But this guy will extend out 6 blocks in each direction, again in this diamond-like format. So what that means is you could go 6 blocks out this way, and then 6 blocks out again this way, and put another one of the braziers, right? So you could extend it out like this, and then those 2 ends would touch right here, and then this guy right here would extend out like that, and then the new diamond be created, and then you would have this big gap right here. Now, what I did, and what I'm going to show you is the most optimal is, you actually don't want to have 12 blocks of space between them. You want to have 11 blocks of space between them. That 1 block overlap is important because you're going to end up needing to put another brazier, somewhere within there, like roughly in that area right there. So let's go back over to my survival world. And what you will see here is a very planned out grid. So what you have, and by the way, where I have these blocks, you can ignore that. That is just a decorative for me. I may change around how it looks, but that's just a decorative thing for me. You can have crops there if you want to. Now, horizontally and vertically every way, I will have an 11 block gap between all of these. It is 11 blocks between this brazier and that brazier. And this guy right here is just put right in the middle, dead in the middle. And that's how I have done all of these. So a grid layout like this will ensure that 100% of your crops are getting lit up 100% of the time, including when you're sleeping. So you will get that boost from sleeping and your crops growing overnight at a higher speed. And then, like I mentioned earlier, it's up to you whether you decide you want to water and fertilize your crops to make them go even faster. Now, a couple final notes of some information I got from the person that actually designed this entire system. Her name is Paris, or Octadev on Twitter. I do discuss things back and forth with her sometimes. And one of the things that she let me know, if you're wondering about the watering situation, I did mention I was going to bring up the watering situation. Look, these guys are still fertilized. That's interesting. It's good to know. is the way that the game used to work before today. Today is January 28th for me as of the point I'm recording this. It may be a few days, couple days until this video comes out. As of the time of recording this, today an update came out that made it so putting water beside farmland will not any longer hydrate that farmland. So before today, what used to happen is you could have a channel of water here. Let me get out of free cam mode. It's a little bit easier. You could have, like, let's say this was a channel of water, and then you could have crops right here, and then another channel of water. So all of these crops would be touching this water. All of these crops would be touching this water right here, and that would actually keep your farmland hydrated, because remember, the farmland does not stay hydrated forever. Today's update got rid of that. Now, I talked to Paris about this. She said that there was no intentional changes around this put in, but that this is actually unintended behavior. It may be something that was left over from the game back in its previous years of development. So she said, do not expect that to come back. So if you've designed your farms around that, I am sorry, it doesn't work like that anymore. It is a early access game, so you do need to expect these types of things can potentially happen. But that they are also going to look into other ways to progress stuff like the watering can. So your watering can, who knows, maybe it'll hold more water. Maybe you can water more than one space at a time. I don't know. We'll see what they decide to do. And then she said a sprinkler or a sprinkler-like system could be another option. That sounds a little bit less definite, whereas the water can sounds definite. So we'll have to see what they do. I did cover in a previous video how they are going to be working on automation really soon. So with that coming, I would expect maybe watering to be included in the automation somehow, but we don't know. We'll have to see. And I think for the most part, that should be all that you need to know about crop farming. I do have one last comment to make, which is I want to see what you guys think about this. So comment down below. I actually think the crops kind of grow a little bit too fast. And the reason that I say that is I never feel like watering or fertilizing my crops is worth it, because that takes time to do. And they just kind of grow quick enough anyways. Like, I can harvest my crops every day easily right now without watering anything. So I feel like if the crops took longer to grow, maybe it takes 2 or 3 days of in-game days for them to grow, especially since they continue to grow at nighttime, then maybe watering and fertilizing them would feel a lot more impactful and would make me want to do it more. So just a little food for thought. Let me know what you think. Also, if you enjoyed this channel, do me a solid, press the like button. It lets YouTube know that you liked it, and then they might show it to a few more people. Or if you play with other Hytale people, maybe share this video with them so they can learn a little bit about crops as well. It does help. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future videos. Also, you'll get my live stream notifications. I stream on Twitch and YouTube, so I'm pretty easy to find. And we talk about, discuss, and science this type of stuff, and do a lot of other things like building and PvP and MMO servers and dungeon runs. We do all sorts of stuff here, but definitely subscribe so you don't miss any of that. And if you want to further support my Hytale content, consider picking up a channel membership, or at least using code PROW8413 if you're purchasing Hytale, if you're recommending a friend or family member purchase Hytale, or if you play on any servers that have purchasable items, try using code PROW8413 there, because I am partnered with several servers. I appreciate you guys watching today. Thank you so much. It's time for me to Hytale it out of here, and I'll see you next time in Orbis. Goodbye.